We're learning human remains were found yesterday in Westerly, Rhode Island, just down the street from Taylor Swift's mansion.
Yeah, in fact, police there say that they were called to the home yesterday morning to the area nearby. They found a human leg bone that's now being looked at by a state medical examiner in Rhode Island. The case remains under investigation, but police do say that no foul play has been suspected.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be a an interesting video. So this is going to be a video that kind of is much for me. I tore a little bit with actually doing the video because it is a little it's subject based, but I be doing the subject based stuff, but then I be adding stuff so that it could kind of like not just be solely on that. But this one I decided to do this one on the program that Troubled Teen Industry. So the reason why I decided to do this is because it's very near and dear to me, and I'm not gonna keep the welcome too long, but I actually was sent to a Troubled Teen Industry facility when I was 15, and I was there for a year. So I went to a place called Darrington Academy, and that's the first place we're going to go on our tour today. We have a lot of other stuff that we're going to get into too, but we also have this that we're going to talk about because I feel like it needs to be some awareness brought to it because it's still facilities that's with the WASP program that's running today. So Paris Hilton was sent to one, and I forgot. I don't know if I'm saying her name right or wrong, whatever. But Bad Bunny, baby, whatever the girl name is, she was sent to one. And the list goes on, and it's not the best place, but your parents is not aware of that. So we're gonna get into it. It's gonna be trigger warnings. Because it's going to talk about abuse, child abuse, different things like that. And I circled this back into, I really think that there was some trafficking going on and just different things from just learning the things that I've been learning in my journey that can tie back to the things that I experienced when I went to Darrington. So, yes, I went to Darrington Academy from 2004 to 2005, and I turned 16 in the program. I went there for fighting and being disrespectful. And when I got there, I realized I wasn't, my little issues I needed to just listen. But nevertheless, let's get to it. This is a lot for me. It's reliving trauma, but I feel like it's my duty to expose it because I went through it, and it's not something I would wish on any kid, even if your kid is out of there. And in my mom's defense, let me say this, in my mother's defense, she really thought she was doing the right thing, and she was scared that she was going to lose her daughter. So knowing my mom, had she known what she knows now, I'm sure she would not have sent me there. But let's get into it. We're going to first start off with Darrington. I wanted to start it off with something that's personal to me. So we're getting ready to see where I was for a whole year when I was locked up in the Troubled Teen Industry program. You guys, bear with me because I still haven't been back to Georgia since 2005. And it's 2025. So let's go. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's go.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the Troubled Teen Industry, but I specifically want to show you some pictures. The program that I went to, called Darrington Academy, was in Blue Ridge, Georgia. It was owned and operated by Jay Scolding and Richard Darrington. The school was officially closed down when Richard Darrington faced some criminal charges of childhood abuse and did ultimately get convicted, but it didn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things in his life, apparently. The facility was previously a motel, which is now a motel again. In 2019, after Paris Hilton's documentary came out and I went down a spiral, I spent my first anniversary with my husband driving to Georgia for the weekend, staying one night in the motel and taking lots of pictures and trying to heal. Let me show you something. This is Darrington Academy, and this is probably one of your first views if you just so happen to be driving up there during the day. On the other side of that building is where that long driveway is. That building was the cafeteria, and that door right there, which you'll see in another picture, is to our classrooms. The classroom was just one big room with computers in it because we did a computerized homeschool Christian-based system thing where boys were on one side and girls were on the right now. We are on the boys' side, looking down at where you would have all your like physical activity. Every morning we had PT, and underneath all that concrete was a pool once upon a time. This is another view from the boys' side, going to the right-hand side. You see those trailers? Those are the trailers where you would be with your families or the groups that you lived with, where you would have like basically group therapy, but it wasn't really therapy, and anything else that you had to do that wasn't school, eating, or cleaning. Right here, that little bridge thing went to a trailer that was our library. That was kind of short-lived from what I understand. And this is on the girls' side. These are the trailers that the girls were in. Now, there were two sides to these trailers, so that there were 4 families that were able to be in the trailers with bathrooms in the middle. This is the girls' side. All these rooms were connected. So there was like a cutout doorway so that you can be standing on one side and look all the way down to the other. I was in the Athena family, and we had, I believe, the entire downstairs, or most of it. This is the infamous laundry room. If you went to Darrington, you know some of the shit that happened in there. But also, when you first got there, this is where you went, where they strip searched you, took your drug test, pregnancy test, whatever. This is another view of the girls' side. This big grassy area you were very seldom on. Very seldom. This was, the woods behind, but on the other side, like up that hill some, that's where Richard Darrington lived. And we all knew that if we ran away, there was nothing there. And then they would tell you there's bears and there's this animal and that animal, and they're whatever. Still on the girls' side, looking towards the cafeteria. Cafeteria is that way. This is the gym where we had all our seminars.
So, y'all, I still have, like I said, still haven't been back there, and I have been saying that I'm gonna go back, just to do exactly what she did. I was actually in Gaia and Hera family. I actually got there when Darrington had just opened, like a year. They had just closed Casa by the Sea like a year prior, and then they opened up Darrington. And then we're going to get into that. And so there was only 2 families. There was, I don't know if the guys were, if Poseidon or Apollo was first or second, but one of them. And then it was Gaia. And then Gaia, we started growing, and then we got Hera. And so I was switched over from Gaia to Hera. So they didn't have the gym. They didn't have the trailers and none of that when I got. They had the place that she said like was the cafeteria. I mean, the cafeteria and like the classrooms, and then they had the housing, and then like that stuff. But they didn't have the gym. I actually was there when they built all that. So yeah, but I was in those families, and yeah, I mean, she preached to the choir. But let's keep going, y'all.
This is the gym where we had all our seminars. Standing there, when I took this photo, I can hear the screams. I can hear the towels hitting the floor. It's just unbelievable. This is the cafeteria. Now, mind you, again, this is a motel. They're in the process of making this into like a restaurant, but this was the cafeteria. These are those classrooms again I was telling you about. See, there's 2 doors because there were 2 sides and there was a wall in between. So if you see this picture this is my husband, ain't he cute? Anyways, you see how tall that is? That's how tall the fence was. There was no looking out. There was no jumping it. Because it was this fence, but it was that tall. Okay? This is the room of what it looks like now, I guess, or was when I was there. Imagine 3 different bunk beds in this room, 1 against one wall, 2 against the other, and of course that open bathroom area. They didn't replace the frames. You see that hole right there next to my eyes? That's where they had a rod, and there was a curtain. There was no doors. We did not have doors when we went to the bathroom. We had curtains, and we had to count while we peed, while we pooped. 1, 2, 3, to make sure that we weren't puking. Now, there were some staff that were good. Very few, but there were few. Some of the best staff at Darrington were the cook staff. And if you were doing well, you were able to help. Miss Molly and her husband, I cannot remember his name, now own a restaurant in Blue Ridge. I mean, I don't know if it's still, but again, this is 2019 when I went. And I got to see her, and I also got to see Miss Gail, who was also one of the nicest staff there. And this is me. This is Miss Molly. Sorry for my finger. And this is Miss Gail. And this is me. I'm going to show this quickly, but this is my family. Athena family. There's me. If you ever see pictures of program kids smiling in the program, it's because they wanted to go home. If you smile, maybe your parents will pull you. I can't remember if staff told me that or if other people told me that, like other program kids. But it was definitely a thought. If I show my mom I'm trying, if I show my mom positivity, maybe my mom will come get me. Being pulled means your parents come get you before you graduate. Now, when I went to Georgia and I went to the facility and went to the motel, first of all, I did not sleep that night. But second of all, I was determined to step on places I could not step before. So when I was on the boys' side, I was ecstatic. I'm not going to say ecstatic. I was free. I was standing in places and looking at places that I just simply couldn't before. And it's such a small little area that it's just wild. I don't know how else to put that. Tomorrow morning, my bestie's coming over. My husband and I are going to watch the program. If you haven't watched it yet, please watch it. If you were in a program, please watch with care. I'm told it's quite triggering. So, bye.
So that is the movie is Program on Netflix. Paris Hilton's life documentary, I think, is on YouTube, and then the other one is called something teen. It's right here on HBO Max. But yes, I Molly and Pete was awesome. I did work in the kitchen until I got dropped my levels because of my mouth. Because I be talking, I'm boisterous. And Miss Gail was awesome. Marissa was skinny and tall, and I was always short and thick. So I was Shamu, and it's unfortunate that I would be wearing white and black, huh? And then Beanpole was Marissa. But that was bittersweet. But heebie-jeebie feeling, because it's like, it was hell. It was a year of my life that it was just, let's just keep going, y'all.
Have you ever noticed how similar elementary, middle, and high schools are to prisons? Think about it. You have to be in certain rooms in certain times doing only what you're told to do. You get served in a cafeteria food that you had no input on, and you're only eating the food in portions already determined for you. You get recess, or yard time, where you're expected to be outside so they can claim to treat you better than hamsters. And if they don't like your behavior, you are removed from everyone else and put in detention or lockdown. Hey, even the buses look similar. Is this how you want to train your mind, body, and soul? We have to break out the lessons that create the habits that don't serve us. Unlearn the bad programming. The goal is to make you a more obedient worker, nothing more. If you want financial freedom and generational wealth, you have to do things a bit differently. In fact, the more that the normal people misunderstand you, the more likely it is you're on the right track. Follow to break the cycle and increase your net worth and build generational wealth.
Reading a book called Secret Pizza Party to Children? But wait, it's crazier. So this right here is Jennifer Garner, a movie star, reading the book Secret Pizza Party, why is it secret, to children. I'm sure it's completely innocent, just a pizza party, but it's secret.
It's called Secret Pizza Party. Then you're gonna love this book.
I wonder why all these celebrities are so obsessed with pizza. Could it mean something else? Remember when she got Harvey to chip in for that pizza? And for some reason, not only do they love pizza, they love sharing that love with pizza to children. So here I am wondering, I wonder what child's game puts pizza right in the forefront. Did you know on Fortnite they use pizza to provide health and shield restorations to the player? Almost like it's the fountain of youth, right? I'll be darned. And on that same wavelength, I was like, Fortnite has pizza, must have hot dogs too. One of the most popular characters on Fortnite is a hot dog. And the hot dog's eating the pizza to keep its health. What a weird chain of events, right? It's just a book though. I mean, honestly, I think it's time we throw the whole Earth away and try again.
I'm just gonna put this here. This is the pedo names for how they communicate with each other, and here. And I'm gonna leave that there, and we're gonna keep going.
The program runs on a points and level system. Everyone starts on level 1 with 0 points. You move up in levels by getting points. You earn points by following the rules all day. If you break a rule, you get a correction. That removes points from your total. On level 1, you earn nothing. And if you got a correction, you most likely didn't have enough points to cover it, so you'd be sent to worksheets to write meaningless essays or copy rules for hours. When you got to level 2, you were allowed to have a candy bar twice a week. Level 3 was a big deal because it meant you were finally allowed to have a 15-minute phone call once a month with your parents. But staff would listen in, and if you said anything bad about the program, they would disconnect the call and you would lose your phone privileges. Levels 4 through 6 were upper levels, and it was a completely different program. You could talk, you could shave, you could wear your hair down, but you can't leave the program until you get to level 6, and that takes a very long time. They want to.
So I made it up to level 4 and then got dropped down. So I never graduated the program. And level 2, when I got to level 2, I never knew how long you can make a candy bar last, so you don't get it often, and you try to savor every moment of it. But that was spot on. And I've been to worksheets, I've been to intervention, I was on suicide watch. Yes, it was a lot.
I was force-fed medications and sexually abused by the staff. I was violently restrained and dragged down hallways, stripped naked, and thrown into solitary confinement. When I was 16 years old, I was ripped from my bed in the middle of the night and transported across state lines to the first of 4 youth residential treatment facilities. These programs promised healing, growth, and support, but instead did not allow me to speak, move freely, or even look out a window for 2 years. I was only sent there because I was getting bad grades, I was just ditching classes, I have ADHD, and that was something that they weren't really talking about back then. Locking kids in facilities is harmful, and from my own experience, has caused me severe post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma that I'll have for the rest of my life. For children who do end up in foster care, we cannot allow them to grow up in facilities. The treatment these kids have had to endure is criminal. These kids deserve to grow up in safe, family-centered environments. I will not stop until America's youth is safe.
What if I told you that I know exactly what the Grand Canyon is? Would you believe me? And I know exactly why it looks like petrified flesh and has all the signs of petrified living tissue. And then I showed you what the veins of a bat's wing looks like and what the Grand Canyon looks like. And then I remind you, or tell you for the very first time, if you haven't seen my dragon video, what I found right near that area. Look at this outlined in red wing, torso, and head, even down to its molars and jagged teeth. There's a dragon there, and the Grand Canyon is that dragon's petrified veins. Try to tell me I'm wrong. Try. Now, to the uninitiated to my dragon post, go check it out, but quick recap. Here is the whole dragon in red. I outlined it in blue. What I found later is the wing actually comes up and around. The head, here's the head. They even call the mouth the Black Dragon Reservoir and Black Dragon Trailhead or Canyon. There is a dragon there, and the entire Grand Canyon is its petrified vein. And just so you can see the comparisons again. And yeah, the Grand Canyon, you can't explore all of it, just like you can't explore Antarctica, because there's all sorts of hidden things there that they don't want you to know about, cultures that existed there that they don't want you to know existed there. But the bigger secret, the biggest secret of the Grand Canyon is what it actually is. And you try to tell me that's not the head of a giant dragon, and that you're not looking at its neck, and that this entire thing here is in its wing and its veins. Try to tell me. Try. Oh, and of course, I'm just joking. This is all for entertainment purposes, just like to make you guys laugh.
I kind of see it, but I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments though.
So we did seminars that were based on teachings that I thought was therapy at the time, but I've later come to realize and learn that it was based on LifeSpring and some other crazy theories. However, these seminars were meant to break us. They would put you in fight and flight and wear you down, and then the purpose of them were to break your will, and then you would have this life-changing thing where your true potential was revealed. And they were really weird, really, really weird. You weren't allowed to talk about them at all, and they were really intense, like
emotional. And they would literally take the thing about you that was like your worst insecurity, that was the worst mental anguish you've ever been in your entire life, and exploit it for all to see.
Yes.
Yep. Let's keep going.
This right here was what they showed on the news, weather report, and even the doomsday fish are acting up. We'll come right back to the 1000th doomsday fish that we've seen so far. But let's check out some unrelated anonymous weather phenomenon. Seems like the East Coast is under some very, very, very hazy skies. You wanna know what these hazy skies remind me of? Derealization. It's unrelated, but it seems like everyone's dealing with derealization lately. What about you? Unrelated, just for attention, I mean, the derealization is just off the chain these days, right? What are these giant circles popping up? Crazy enough, they pop up alongside really, really bad storms. Speaking of storms, this right here has to be a sign. Crazy hail, and it literally stopped on the border. Literally on the border. I guess this crazy hell-like hail is normal now, because it's been everywhere, right? Did you know that scientists are actively adding new cloud patterns to the sky because we're seeing things that we have never seen before? This is the skies, it's not a wave. Like that thing we saw at the very beginning, right? And we've had 3 doomsday fish pop up in the last 48 hours. I've seen 3 different videos in 3 different places. And again, this is like a once in a lifetime, if that, occurrence. But these are happening every single day because something weird is happening on Earth, and they are well aware of it. These doomsday fish are literally a sign of just that, apocalyptic earthquakes and crazy things happening on the Earth. In ancient times, they would always see this first, so I really wonder what's going on, even though it's all unrelated. Let me know what y'all think below.
Ew.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but this shit creeped me out, y'all. People is not taking this serious enough. Just know that these things are finna walk amongst us. It's gonna get to the point where we not even gonna know who real and who not. They already got this shit happening on video. Videos are being AI generated, and you can't tell a difference from a real video and a fake video. Imagine walking around thinking someone is a real human being, and it turns out they're AI. And then online, you're already seeing AI videos that you think is real. Your mind is going to end up going fucked. You're going to be crazy in the head. A lot of people is going to go loco. Then they talk about this. This is the last thing we need, y'all. I'm telling you, shit's about to be so fucked up.
You guys have to see this video of this wax doll moving its neck while this guy is recording it in a museum. That's not a real person. Now, this is Maria Sabina, and you can't make this up. I've been telling my people Maria is one of the names that has going to become viral, and here she is. Maria Sabina is a well-known Aztec shaman, okay? This guy is right here recording because he felt something eerie about this wax doll. And all of a sudden, y'all, the wax doll moves its head. Just watch this, y'all. Look at the eyes. Look. Y'all see that? I slowed it down and zoomed in for y'all. Y'all see that? Just that subtle nudge. That subtle nudge. And just to prove to you it's just a wax doll figure, the manager of the museum comes out and basically tells us this is all wax.
No, amigo, no manejo nada de mecatrónica. Es una figura totalmente en cera. Mira, es una pieza total, rígida, no se puede manipular. Te digo, no tiene nada. Te muestro. No hay cables.
He's saying no cables, it's all wax. Now again, this lady directly worked with magic mushrooms. She was a shaman, so maybe her spirit is still active in this thing, and this is a sign that's showing y'all this, right? Because again, we're merging with the metaphysical world. So, right, they said the dead shall rise first. So Maria Sabine worked directly with magic mushrooms. She was a shaman, okay? So her spirit seems to be still active through this wax doll figure. Because again, we're merging with the metaphysical world, right? They said the dead shall rise first. So what do you guys think about this? These are some very interesting times we live in, y'all. Let's get it. Peace in.
First of all, he was good for touching it. I don't like wax figures. Like, that stuff don't look creepy. Like, oh, no. Ew.
So people are talking about the program on Netflix, and I actually went to one of those schools to a program. Mine was in South Carolina, and it's really wild to me because we all knew about this. Like, we were threatened with Ivy Ridge. We knew that it was a lockdown facility. We knew that they couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom at night. They were locked into their rooms. I had one friend transfer there. But that wasn't even the worst of all the schools. Like, there was one in Mississippi where they had to do PT until they fainted sometimes, so they could either take a demerit or do physical training. There's another one in Jamaica, the country, where they didn't have child protection laws in the same way we do. And we knew all the way in South Carolina that these kids were being abused. And they would threaten us with that. They would threaten us with transfer. All the time, it was like, you'll get transferred to Jamaica. And then you'll be able to get hit. So
the facility in Jamaica was called Tranquility Bay. And it wasn't untranquil. Well, they might tranquilize your head. But, you know. But yeah, you were threatened with that all the time.
So it's very upsetting. Like, I was one of the lucky ones. It actually saved my life. But I've had friends commit suicide. I've had friends end up just so much worse. Even like non-friends, but other students who are just so much worse than they were. Who ended up getting into drugs, even more so, and just kind of like lost their minds after. And it's because there was also abuse at my school. And if you research these WASP schools, like the one I went to, the guy was incredibly corrupt and went bankrupt. And I mean, the horror stories of what they found when they got there, like dead horses everywhere. I mean, it was horrific. So, I mean, the staff too. There's so much there that show. I mean, you could do multiple seasons on all of these different schools.
So, at Darrington was actually ran by Dace and Dusky Golding, but Dace, really, Dusky was his brother, and he really wasn't supposed to run a program because the program that he had that was in Mexico, which was Casa by the Sea, ended up getting closed down by the federales, and so he went and got his buddy, Richard Darrington, to open up Darrington and Blue Ridge, and they all from Utah. It all be based, like they all from Utah. So I don't know what the connection is, but yeah. But let's keep going.
This is what they don't tell you. The Grand Canyon isn't just a natural wonder. It holds the secrets of an ancient, advanced civilization. But that's not even the craziest thing that was recently discovered. In a 1909 newspaper article, there were claims of an incredible find saying, an explorer discovered a hidden cave filled with Egyptian artifacts. The Grand Canyon has been studied for centuries, so what's really hidden within it? This is where things get scary. In the article, explorer G.E. Kincaid allegedly found a cave containing statues, tools, and hieroglyphs that resembled those of ancient Egypt. But here's the twist. Some scientists believe it wasn't even the ancient Egyptians, but an ancient advanced civilization called the Anunnaki. It's believed it was actually the Anunnaki who built the pyramids in ancient Egypt, and they also built pyramids and giant structures in part of North and South America. But once they left our planet, they took everything with them, leaving us with giant architecture all around the world.
That's an interesting theory. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, though.
Making me the highest paid megalomaniacal boy king in all of Babylon.
You see, if you go and visit the very home of the Oscars, where they hold it each year, you can see a plaque on the wall that says the Babylonian Court. The camera shows you the stage, and you see an unmistakable Tower of Babel embedded into the design. Outside of the Kodak Theater, you have the gates to Ishtar, and you have Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gates. They have the exact elephants. They have the same exact gate of Ishtar. They have the same exact Babylonian gods over the top of the gates.
Look, a lot of people come up here and they thank Jesus for this award. I want you to know that no one had less to do with this award than Jesus. He didn't help me a bit. So all I can say is, suck it, Jesus, this award is my God now.
I'm thankful to the Oscar gods.
The other names of the gentlemen are all gods as far as the category concerned.
When you get this little golden statue, you become a star. In the Egyptian culture, they also had a little statue that represented the god Ptah. And see, when an Egyptian king died, it was
we could delve into that a little bit deeper. I just wanted to throw that in here. But we talked about it before in the Oscars, around the Oscars time. I did a video in regards to this too. So.
When I was 12, I was sent to a WASP school, a behavior modification school, also known as residential treatment centers, wilderness programs, therapeutic boarding schools. So they're really all the same thing and under the same umbrella. I was at this one, which is now shut down, but they are open by some of the owners in other locations, just not under the WASP umbrella. Your parents sign over their rights and guardianship to these people. It all started with Synanon, and that was a cult that had the worst tough love practices, and all these organizations kind of stemmed from that, and mine was over here at the bottom, the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. So I think mine kind of more stemmed from Straight Incorporated, and I don't know if you recognize any of these names, but there is a documentary on the Elan School. Their intent was to completely break you down and reform you, and they did so with these seminars. It was branched off of LifeSpring seminars, and this was called Resource Realizations. We had discovery, focus, accountability, keys, I think keys 2, and then 3 parent seminars, PC 1, 2, and 3 that we went to as parent-child. And this is the reputation that LifeSpring has, so not a very good one, very cult-ridden and mind control. It was based off of a level system, and moving up in the levels meant you're complying with the program. There were huge consequences and corrections for the most basic tasks, and made it so you could not move up in the program. I was there for nearly 3 years. The average length of being there was about 12 months to 18 months. I struggled because I have ADHD, so I really struggled on learning how to work the program. I was also very young going in. I was the youngest at the time going into that program. The consequences include solitary confinement, silence, which we were always on silence anyway, writing tons of pages, and no privileges. We couldn't do anything as it was. We were stripped of all of our rights, and yeah. We couldn't wear our hair down, we couldn't pluck our eyebrows, we couldn't look at the boys, we had to put our head down when the boys came out. The only communication we had with the outside world was writing to our parents, and that was one approved address usually that we could write to. They read all of our mail that was outgoing and incoming, so if there was anything that they thought that was manipulative or negative about the program, our parents never read it. So there was no way of asking for help or telling them what was really going on there.
Well, I'll never forget having to write worksheets, and one worksheet page could take you like 4 or 5 notebook pages. Yeah, and they were like, man, they knew what they were doing, you know. But going back to what she said about it being in the occult, this is what I was referring to, going back to what I dealt with and then dealing with what I've been learning and exposing on this channel. And then she said about the cults, and then the MK Ultra, like not knowing that I was going through things like that as a kid. Man, it's crazy how stuff just be lining up and syncing together, and you'd be like, why am I going through this? And then later on in life, and all these years later, I really realized why I was going through it. Interesting.
So on my first week there, I thought, I'll follow these rules and I can keep my head down, and I figured it out, and I thought I could figure out how to work it. And then my family rep came and sat in our group, and she said, Jenna, why don't you share to us why you're here? I said, oh, I'm here for, smoking pot and drinking and doing all these things. And she said, why don't you get real and talk about your rape? And then from that moment, everybody in the group is giving me feedback about how I'm fake and how I have male acceptance issues and how I needed to take accountability for the real reasons why I was there. So it was just really intense attack therapy right off the bat. When I went to Discovery Seminar, it was that exact same experience with my family rep, but in front of 50 to 100 people.
Boys included.
Boys included. I hadn't seen boys in over a month. They were there, so it was that same process of me standing on a chair and them asking me, why don't you get real and talk about your rape?
Going into details about the assault, and among people who had no psychological training.
Yeah. And that continued throughout my whole program. So they had their images, they would assign your image, and throughout these different processes, it would be what's your image that you go to. One was perfectionist, which, okay, maybe there was some truth to that a little bit. But then the other was this male acceptance. And when they would make me go to that image, it was really more traumatizing.
Yo, it was a trip. And going back to it, thinking about the stuff now, it's like, oh my goodness, we were really like getting more traumatic experiences dealing with this stuff than we were getting healed.
Imagine going to see the Final Destination and you almost lived it in real life. I need y'all to put this into perspective. Say you go to the movie theater, you excited to watch Final Destination. You go a little earlier because you're so excited. You get your popcorn, you get your drink and some other snacks. You walk into the theater, you sit in the seat that you picked out, y'all. You watch the trailers, and then the lights dim because the movie about to start. So you take a sip of your drink, you eat your popcorn, and then minutes into the film, the ceiling over top of you collapsed. That's what happened to this 29-year-old who went to go see the movie that was in Argentina. This lady name was Fiamma Filaverdi. So when the incident happened, she was rushed to the hospital because her back and her ankle was fucked up. And get this, y'all. They said it was 40 other people in that movie theater, and she the only one that got injured. Sometimes movies ain't just movies, y'all. You gotta understand and you gotta be aware of your surroundings. Every time I walk into a theater, I always look up, down, left, right.
What if I told you that under the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the world's most iconic ancient wonders, there's something no one expected to find? Thanks to cutting-edge LiDAR scanning, scientists have just uncovered massive artificial structures buried deep beneath the desert sands. We're talking kilometers of perfectly aligned stone pillars, strange coiled designs, and impossible geometries that descend deeper and deeper far below the surface. These formations aren't random, they're symmetrical, they're engineered, and they stretch down at least Kusada meters with signs of even more chambers hidden below. Jay Anderson, a leading tech analyst, reviewed the data and confirmed this is not a natural formation. The patterns, precision, and complexity suggest advanced construction techniques that defy everything we know about ancient Egypt. This isn't just another conspiracy theory, this is real. The data is crystal clear. But what truly shakes researchers is this: the level of technology needed to build this simply didn't exist back then. At least, not according to history books. Could this have been some kind of ancient machine, an energy source, a vault from a forgotten civilization? We don't know yet. But what's buried beneath the Great Pyramid might not just change archaeology, it could rewrite human history as we know it. And that's what keeps people up at night.
Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, because that's interesting, you know?
Are you familiar with the concept of hypnotic constructs?
Look, lady, come on. First it's fortune telling, and it's hypnosis.
It's not hypnosis. Hypnotics have abilities far beyond anything we have a name for.
Hypnotics?
People with the ability to actually influence the brain over a psychic bandwidth.
Make telepathy?
Telepaths just read the mind. Hypnotics reshape its reality. The guy at the bank. You said he spoke 4 words to a woman and she undressed.
Because she was in on it.
No. Those were cues. Sound, voice, locking eyes. Hypnotics use them to make you see a version of the world that doesn't exist. Your behavior conforms with this hypnotic construct, so everything that you see and do feels perfectly normal.
How is it that you know so much about these hypnotics?
Because I am one.
And I also think that Stranger Things had to deal with the Nantucket Project, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, in regards to MK Ultras.
You can go from New York to Brazil, Buenos Aires, and then Antarctica without ever coming up to the surface for air. And you can do it all at way more than 1,000 miles an hour on magnetic levitation trains, otherwise called maglev. One thing he told me, he went from Virginia to Los Angeles in 45 minutes. Do the math, 3,000 miles an hour. Most people don't even believe that there's a tunnel network. There are there are hundreds of thousands of miles of tunnel systems.
Well, that's a day in the life of Darrington, and that was Dace at the end. Dace Golding.
Totally fucking inhumane. It was the most pure fucking torture. Like taking a 16-year-old American, throwing them in Mexico and saying, you need to speak Spanish in the next 3 weeks. And if you don't end every word, I don't know how you learned it, but I had to learn it they told me that I had to end every word with O or A until I was able to communicate in Spanish.
And that was Casa by the Sea, the one I told y'all that Dace owned and had to get it shut down, but was shut down by the Federales before he opened up Darrington. Go figures.
You've probably heard the mind-blowing news that scientists have literally resurrected the extinct species of the dire wolf by bringing to life these genetically modified cuties. But what I want to talk about is their names. The two boys are called Romulus and Remus, after the mythological founders of ancient Rome. And the choice is fitting, because according to the legend, the twins owed everything, you guessed it, to a wolf. Why? Ancient Rome was all about gossip, so it is fair enough that the tea would be boiling hot right from the start. You're all familiar with the War of Troy. Now, a lot of Trojans, but this guy makes it out alive. Aeneas, Prince of Troy, grabs his kid, his dad, and gets the hell out of there. After many adventures, he lands in Italy, and he gets to the region where Rome will be built. He marries a local princess, Lavinia, and he founds Lavinium, always creative with names. Now, his kid, Ascanio, who's no longer a kid, founds the city of Alba Longa and has kids of his own. His kids have kids, and so on for a few generations till we get to King Numitor. Now, Numitor was great, but he had a younger brother, Amulius, who wanted the throne for himself. Yes, exactly like.
Oh, I shall practice my courtesy.
He usurps the throne, he takes out all of Numitor's sons, and forces Numitor's daughter, his own niece, Rhea Silvia, to become a Vestal virgin. He thinks, she's a Vestal, she's a virgin, she ain't having kids, so I got the power for myself. But in ancient mythology, whenever the girl gets locked up so that she doesn't have kids, she'll end up having kids. The god Mars falls for Rhea Silvia and seduces her. Disclaimer, unfortunately, in some other versions, this was a lot less consensual. Bottom line, not only she gets pregnant with twins. As soon as the twins are born, Amulius, the evil uncle, orders a servant to drop the babies in the river. They miraculously survive in their cute little basket, and they are found by a she-wolf. We're finally circling back. A she-wolf hears their cries, she finds them, she feeds them, thus saving their life. Later, they will be found by a shepherd who raises them as his own. When they grow up, they'll end up founding Rome, but not without more blood being spilled. Again, there's many versions, but basically they end up fighting over who should be ruling the new city, and Romulus ends up his own twin brother Remus, thus becoming the first king of Rome. And this is why in the symbol of Rome we find a she-wolf feeding twins. In case you're wondering what happened to their mother, as soon as the babies are born, the evil uncle gets rid of Rhea Silvia. There's many versions as to how he does it, but there is one I find so interesting, where instead of getting rid of her, she gets saved thanks to the plead of her cousin, daughter of Amulius himself, who says, "Dad, she's my BFF, please spare her." And the reason why I love it is because it gave Shakespeare the inspiration for As You Like It. With Romulus and Remus, we're talking, of course, about mythology, not history. Historical facts have been twisted and bent here in order to create a narrative that would somehow connect ancient Rome to Troy and ancient Greece, so as to give it the legitimacy it needed. But yes, fitting names.
And I'm going to end it on that one because I'm going to pick that up on our next video about the reason why I discussed that. So, yeah. So, you guys, we've reached the end of this video. I hope you guys learned a lot. Shout out to anybody that has been to a WASP program or a program that is based upon what the WASP programs was, and any survivors. Here's my picture from Breaking Code Silence when Paris Hilton first came out with it. This is what everybody kind of was doing with that had been in the program. And these are my traumas that I have dealt with and still deal with, you know, because life is always, you know, being life. And so, but this is it. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I feel like nobody should have to go through that. And then to bring it all together and be full circle moment was awesome. Kind of traumatizing still a little bit together, like just like, whoa. But nevertheless, you guys, it's been a long video. I'm tired. It is 11:12 at night and I am exhausted. So I am going to let y'all go. Here are the movies again. Check them out. I'm going to let y'all go. So until next time.